Ah, you're loud.
It always is that way.
Oh, okay. It scares the shit out of me. Like, it really scares the shit out of me every single fucking time you do that. It scares the shit out of me. What's going on, everybody? Holy shit, there's a lot of people watching already. What's up? It's championship week, John. These games are fine. Well, I mean, this game's been over for like a half, but
Green Bay didn't get off the bus until halftime.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Boy. Well, our Super Bowl set is going to be the Niners and the Chiefs. Some red uniforms. Apparently, red's the color this year. So, I think that's a good matchup. I think it's going to be a good game. I know I've seen a lot of people saying the Chiefs are going to run away with it. I
I've got some questions. I've got some questions about that. Which we'll get to today. But as always, everybody, please call in, join the show, give us your Super Bowl predictions. Let us know who you think's going to win. Was it in Miami this year again?
Yeah, Miami.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Super Bowl 54. Yeah. So we'll go on, John, and we'll start with the first game, and that's one of the games that really well. First off, congratulations, you picked the Super Bowl. Long time ago on this show. Yeah, like quite a while back.
Yeah, I think week 9 or 10, I said it was going to be Chiefs and Niners. I know the Niners was the riskier play. I know a lot of guests we had come on the show were like, hey, we'll have a funeral for the Niners for you.
Yeah, Ryan, we're still waiting for that one.
The funeral might happen. It just will be it might be the last game of the year when it occurs. So, but these two teams are good. The Niners defense, I think we saw tonight, probably the best in the league, and I think it's going to be good enough to make the Super Bowl a game. Even as high powerful, as high scoring as the Chiefs are, they don't even need a punter anymore. As high scoring as they are, I think they're going to have some issues with Robert Saleh's defense there with the Niners. He likes to come at different angles. They got edge rushers. They can come at you up the middle. Mahomes is going to have to do a lot of damage on the run, which he's capable of doing. That's not a big deal. If anyone can do it, it is him. Early prediction. I'm gonna say the Chiefs win, but it's gonna be one of those 28-23, 28-21 type games.
You see it lower scoring than I do, which I'll get to my pick in just a little bit. We actually have somebody calling in. So on the phones, it looks like we do have. Is it John?
You got me, guys. How you doing?
Doing good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Couple points.
Sure.
Has anybody in the history of mankind ever been more wrong about something than Ryan Durkee was about the San Francisco 49ers? Oh, my goodness.
I thought that too.
I have never seen somebody give a worse prediction. This is a complete football team, guys. I don't know what games he was watching, but this team is good on offense. This team is good on defense. They're good on special teams, and they have the coaching. Their offense is beautifully run. So, I mean, I think this team. I would be shocked if it's a big spread in the Super Bowl. I think this team is probably more complete than the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, Kansas City's a good team and probably has the best player, but boy, in terms of completeness of football team, it's hard to argue that any team was more complete than the San Francisco 49ers this year.
Well, I've got to ask you, somebody, obviously, I'm going to guess that watches a lot of 49ers football. It took me a while to get on their bandwagon as well. I still wasn't even fully on it 2 weeks ago. But watching this game today, maybe, I don't know, maybe you can tell me if it's because they're playing Green Bay or not, but the 49ers look incredibly fast. a lot faster on offense. I knew they were fast on defense, but their offense is a lot quicker than I thought it was. And is that because they're playing the Packers and the Packers are playing so bad? Or is that something? Do you think they can keep up with Kansas City if this game turns into one of those big shootouts?
Oh, no, they can absolutely keep up with Kansas City. They're fast on both sides of the ball. And the one thing that they do is they run the football, and they do it very effectively. And Kansas City struggles sometimes to stop the run. That's one of the weaknesses of their team. So, I mean, I actually expect it to be higher scoring than the 28-21, but I think that San Francisco can control the game with the running game. I mean, and that's a weak point on the Kansas City defense. So for me, I don't know. What a prediction is all I'll say. What unbelievable. Oh my goodness.
Well, at least you got to call in. I mean, hey, I've been telling him to come on and have that funeral for weeks now.
I don't know if he ever comes back now, Drew.
Yeah,
I think he might be in like exile.
Well, you know, the scary part is that we didn't even need this result to know how ridiculous the prediction was. But this just further, my God. Oh my God.
Well, congratulations, John. It looks like you guys have wrapped this game up. So good luck in the Super Bowl, and thanks so much for calling in, man.
Take care, guys. I'll keep listening. Take care.
Thanks, John. I piggybacking off what John said there, Drew.
Absolutely. Thanks for the call, John.
Yes. He's right. I think defensively, San Fran is obviously considerably better than Kansas City on the defensive side of the ball. And I think in reverse, Kansas City is better offense. So if you're one of those guys that subscribe to the defense wins championships, philosophy, you probably figure maybe the Niners can pull it off. If you don't subscribe to that theory, you might not. I don't know. I mean, this is a game. You can make an argument for either side. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way. I think it's going to be a competitive football game. I think, most will agree Mahomes is a lot better quarterback than Garoppolo is. They're different styles. You know what I mean? But, if you're asking me, I have one of these two and I need to win the game, I think almost everybody, even some Niners fans that would say, yeah, I would take Mahomes. So, that's why I'm leaning that way. But, you look at what they did today. They didn't even need to pass the ball. I mean, Garoppolo, if you look at the box score, not the score, the line score, if you look at the box and see Rodgers' numbers and you see Garoppolo's numbers, you would think, well, the Packers might have won this game. Yet it wasn't even really that competitive. They didn't need to throw the ball. But I will say this. I see the Niners going to have to throw the ball in the Super Bowl. They're not going to have a game like this against the Chiefs. So
and that's what I want to see. That's where I want to see if they can actually hang with, because like I said, they looked incredibly fast today, but even you put out, I don't remember if it was on Facebook or Twitter, talking about how, have you ever seen a damn jet sweep in your entire life?
They ran it like 10 times, and every time it was good for 15 yards. Like, if I'm Shanahan, I just keep running it almost as a joke. Like, here it comes again. Yeah. Like, stop it, guy. Until you stop the bleeding, I'm going to keep opening the wound.
Which isn't that kind of what Mosfert was doing? Which, by the way, anyone that played DFS, I hope you started him like I told you to this weekend. Jesus, he went all Al Bundy on everybody, like literally.
He looked like Derrick Henry today. He channeled his inner Derrick Henry.
Yeah, there was one dominating running back today, and it was not Derrick Henry, as I actually had him on my DFS team as well, which kudos to Kansas City for stepping up and stopping, like what we were talking about, is going to be looked back at, not only the Titans' entire run, incredibly impressive. And like we said in this game, they would blitz early, and they did. They jumped out early, but you knew, especially after last week, you knew what was coming. You knew Kansas City wasn't going to punt much, which turns out they didn't even have to worry about field goals much. But, you knew how that game was going. But congratulations to the Chiefs. Headed to your first Super Bowl since the AFL-NFL merger. Over 50 years. Insane. amazing.
Like I knew that, and then actually hearing it again, like you realize how long. Like I'm old, I'm 47. Like I wasn't even friggin' born yet, man. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it really is, and it's. I thought it was pretty cool for them. I did not realize the AFC Trophy was named after their owner's father. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't watch ESPN, so I wouldn't find out much of that stuff. But I thought that was an impressive game. I thought Kansas City looked great. But before we're going to talk about the Super Bowl quite a bit today. So before we go on to talk about this god awful game when it's over, I got a couple questions regarding the loser of this game, and that's Tennessee, because like I was saying, they stopped an absolutely incredible run. Kansas City did, that Derrick Henry was on, an all-time great run. But Tennessee, I mean, you think about it, they went through New England, they went through Baltimore. If they could have gone through Kansas City, you could argue it's the greatest playoff run in the history of the NFL. But what's next for this team? Because today showed a lot of, I don't know, it looked like Andy Reid literally had the blueprint on how to beat them and just threw it right out for everybody to see, at least how to beat this year's version of this team. But they don't look like they're that far off to me.
No, they're not that far off. I think they can improve their defense. Even though it's not terrible, it's actually pretty good. I think they can add a few more pieces. And, I know he played well most of the year, but, Tannehill today did not look great.
No.
And I mean, long term, he's a guy maybe for another year or two can hold it down, and they can make these kind of playoff runs you've seen this year with Derrick Henry and whatnot. But I don't think he's that elite guy. You know what I mean?
No.
That they're eventually going to want to have on their team and draft or and that sort of thing. So,
and this is the off season. This is the off season to go after those elite guys, which is what's interesting when you look at a lot of teams that aren't in the Super Bowl, because you could argue that there's 7 or 8 teams that are a piece or two away from being in the exact same position Kansas City and San Francisco are in.
Well, so I'll spin this around on you, Drew. I don't think two things. I don't think they're going to be in a draft position, maybe to get one of those draft quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And is there a quarterback that's going to be a free agent that you would sign and then relegate Tannehill back to the bench?
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I think you're going to have people like Phillip Rivers. I think you're going to have a lot of people that maybe stat-wise the last year or two might not have the same numbers as Tannehill, or may have looked like they struggled, but they still have that name, and we all know what the name brings in quarterbacks. So
you might think I'm crazy, man. I don't know if I take a Rivers. This Rivers. I'm not talking about all-time Rivers. I'm talking the incarnation of Rivers, what he is today. I don't know if I'd bench Tannehill for him.
That would be a quarterback competition, 100%. But I'm looking at Tennessee's team, and like AJ Brown, solid. I would rather have him play my number 3. If I could have an ideal wide receiving core, I don't want him as a 1. I'd rather have someone bigger as a 2, and so I'd want to slot him in as a 3. I would rather them go after another wide receiver, but the defense, I mean, Jesus Christ, if you're going to play in the AFC and you're going to play the Chiefs, what the fuck are you doing single covering Tyreek Hill for an entire game? Yeah. Like, you keep getting burned, dude. Like, change it the fuck up. But he doesn't. And you saw it. I mean, credit, you called this matchup. You said that he would burn them all day, and he did. And it was single coverage after single coverage, and they would just play off. And I'm wondering what this team's doing. And it dawned on me that they don't have the personnel to keep up with a team like that. And that's something that they've got to fix.
Yeah, they need Corey Davis actually looked good today.
He did.
But he's been a disappointment overall. I don't think one game really changes your mind on him. So I think they have to get another big-time receiver, whether that's free agency or the draft, to take a little pressure off Derrick Henry. So that I think they need to get a receiver. I think they have a quarterback for now. I don't think they have a long-term answer at that position. I think they need a few more pieces on the defensive side of the ball. So, but they're probably, I think this experience, this run made them a better team. And so they're probably the clubhouse leader to now win that division next year before the season even is over.
They should be. Now there's a lot of competition in that division. A lot of teams that I think are a couple pieces away. But that division is going to be fun to watch. And Tennessee, I'm going to be interested to see what Derrick Henry does next year. Now in the card world, I'm kind of banking on him doing a little bit of damage because he was so low. But this is somebody that, ever since he's come out, we knew he had the potential to do this, but he never put together anything remotely close to what you saw the last 6-8 weeks of the year. Do you think Derrick Henry can keep Derrick Henry, has he established himself as one of those, elite backs in the NFL, or do you think this was a little bit of a Chris Johnson abnormality, to use the ECU Pirates reference?
No, I think he's legit. I think it took him a little bit for the game to slow down for him. Now he just had an incredible 8-game run, Drew. Am I saying he's not going to rush for 160, 180 yards every week, but he legitimately is arguably the best back in the NFL.
He's got a coach that'll give him a chance. His coach will give him a chance to run for 160 a game if he can do it.
So, the way I compare this question is when you're talking fantasy football, not daily fantasy, but actual fantasy football, and you're at your draft and you're ranking these by position. He's right there at the one spot with Zeke's and those guys. And so, I think he's for real. You don't do that for 8 games by accident. Now we could, another comparison, like Raheem Mostert, he's on a pretty good run too.
Incredible.
Now I'll take the opposite. Now I think he's very good. He has the potential, but I'll crown Henry that because he's shown it in the past. I'm gonna put a wait and see on Raheem. Now you got to remember in San Fran they use that multiple backs, and so I don't want to say it's easier, but it maybe it's not as difficult to have those big runs and when you got fresher legs. Henry's carrying the ball every time, except on he's not a big pass catcher, so comes off the field on third downs.
How'd that comment pop up? I don't know. Interesting.
Well, no,
I agree with you, Scott. It just so happens I agree with you. But
I think those are the 3 guys, though, Drew.
They are.
I think it's McCaffrey, Elliott, and Henry. And if you ask 10 people, you'll probably get 6 different rankings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would agree with you with Mostert. I picked him in this game because I like guys on streaks like this, and that's why I thought he was perfect for a game like this. And I would take him to put up big numbers in the Super Bowl, especially if Tevin Coleman's injured and ends up not being able to handle the 20 so touches that he was getting a game. But the 49ers are absolutely going to try and run the ball in this game. And if they would like nothing better than a repeat of today's game where Jimmy G's stats look absolutely awful. Because if Jimmy G is not throwing for 25, 30 attempts, chances are San Francisco's blowing this team out, whatever team they're playing out.
Yeah, I think that's their blueprint. They don't want, like you just said, they don't want Jimmy G throwing the ball 20, 25 times. That means they got a game.
It's interesting. They've got people you would think to be weapons, but I don't know. It's a very interesting offense in San Francisco. But like I said, when John had called in earlier, it's a lot faster than the team that I had seen throughout the year. I don't know if that's just this game today. Congratulations, 49ers fans. I see a sea of people on the field, so I guess that game's officially over. So now it is officially set. But John, I got to ask, when we're looking at this game, we're talking about 2 teams that can put up incredible points. The 49ers today just absolutely just throwing up points like it was nothing on a Green Bay team that I thought was ridiculously overrated. And, we'll talk about them in just a moment. But I want to ask you, you look at the Super Bowl, And you see the Chiefs who are putting up ridiculous points, the 49ers putting up ridiculous points. How high do you think the over-under is? We'll switch to betting for a minute and some gambling. How high do you think they put the over-under for this?
It's a great question. Let's both give our picks, and then we'll see who's closer. I'm going to say they're going to come out with a 54.5 point spread.
I like that. I'm actually going to go ridiculously higher, just praying that Vegas hopes that this game's going to be a shootout, because then I'll actually believe that it will be. I'm going to go probably 58.5. I'm going to go 58.5. I think this could touch close to 60. I'm going to be interested to see. It's going to be very telling what they put this line at, because I think they're going to expect whichever team wins to hit 35. And so I'm going to be expected to see where they put this line at. And they think the 49ers defense is going to be that big of an influence on this game, or, is this going to turn into a shootout? And what do you think that's going to, what do you think that's actually
I went 54.5 because of the Niners. I think they can at least slow Casey down a little bit or enough to maybe, keep it under 30 potentially.
Yeah, well,
you never know in these games, man. Once you get to this last game, all bets are sort of off. There is no tomorrow. These teams are going to leave nothing to chance and leave it all out there. Any trick play or gadget plays they think can turn the tide of momentum, you're going to see it. I will say this. I don't think that wide receiver jet sweep is going to be as effective in Miami as it was against the Packers. Kansas City has got a secondary that has shown they'll come up and wrap somebody. So,
well, Ryan Clark's coming out here already and saying that they've got the most dominating defense in the league. I don't know about that.
San Fran or Kansas City?
No, Kansas City. And I wouldn't go that far. They're playing incredibly good right now, but is this a team that's going to give, the 49ers a lot of trouble? Because, this Green Bay team, they sure as hell didn't get here on offense. They rode a lot of their defense, a lot of these games, and then a lot of luck until their luck ran out. But, Well,
I'll say this to Ryan Clark. I don't know if he's listening, but if you're former Steeler Ryan Clark, I'll disagree with you.
That's why I brought it up.
Listen, Kansas City's defense is good, but they're not dominating. Defense doesn't give up 24-0 lead to Houston Texans in that game. I know they came back and demolished them, and I know it wasn't all defensive. There were some special teams issues there, but they're very good. But they're not dominant. I think the team they're playing in the Super Bowl is a better defense, so you can't make that claim. And I'll be honest with you, if Kansas City is the Super Bowl winner, it's probably going to be because their offense lights the scoreboard up, not because their defense shut down the 49ers.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. So, we touched on one of the losers already, so we get to talk about another one of the losers here for a few minutes, and that, of course, is the Green Bay Packers. And we talked about how, at least I thought, they had no business really being in playoffs. They barely made it to begin with, but I didn't think they had any business being in here. Kudos to them. They got in. Kudos to them. They made a run, caught a Seattle team that was injured. But this is a team, to me, that rode, like I said, a ton of luck all season long. I think they're vastly overrated in their record, how far they got. Pretty much anything you can say about this team, I'll say they're overrated. And I look at Aaron Rodgers and I see his skills quickly diminishing. What do you see from this Green Bay Packer team? What do you expect from them next year?
Well, Green Bay Packer fans, I might be on some hit list because of some of the things I've said. They are overrated.
Yeah,
they're the most overrated too. They went from a 5 seed to a 2 seed because they won their last week. I said they're the most overrated 2 seed I've ever seen in the history of the postseason of football.
Yep.
Now listen, they won a game or two and got kudos to them, like you just said. I thought, listen, I picked them with the points. I thought they'd make a little bit of this game.
So did I.
You know what I did, Drew? I don't know if you did. I bought a little bit into the Aaron Rodgers going back to his hometown. He was slighted when the Niners took Alex Smith. He's got a little bit of revenge on his mind, and
I took it on straight name and experience alone, and the fact that this team had gone off luck. And then I saw the spread, and I thought, you put both games the same at 7.5, but given the Packers 7.5 seemed like you were giving away too much, and you'd be stupid not to take a 2 seed that's given almost 8 points, a touchdown cushion. But looking at it today, you see that obviously that's completely wrong, and we were dead set wrong.
Yeah, I like I said, I bought into the Aaron Rodgers going to chip on the shoulder. The Niners didn't pick him. He had to wait 24 picks until Green Bay took him. Then he had to sit 3 years behind Brett Favre. He even said in an interview that this game is more than just getting to the Super Bowl. That he's still bitter about that. So I thought he was going to come in laser focused with a chip on his shoulder. I thought they'd have a game plan, and he was terrible, quite frankly. His throws were off.
Awful.
He almost looked – there was times where the camera panned on him, and he looked almost uninterested. You know, for a guy coming in with a chip on his shoulder, I didn't see that in his eyes.
I found it funny every single time they would go to commercial when Green Bay was coming off the field. They'd do a close-up of Aaron Rodgers' face until they did it about 5 or 6 times, and every single time he's walking off the field saying "God damn it" and shit. And then I think
doing this. He was doing this a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, which I thought was beautiful. But I bought into it like you did. But I'm there with you. I think they're one of the most overrated 2 seeds ever. I thought it was ridiculous that they backed. Let's be honest, they backed into that 2 seed if you ever could. But it's over now. I think this is actually one team. If you ask me which team from, because there's a lot of turnover in the playoffs. So every year you have, a decent amount of teams that switch. So if you take these final 4 teams today and you ask me which team I had to replace with somebody, I mean, hands down, it's the Packers that I don't see being here. Yeah,
I agree. That offensive line is old. Brian Bulaga, I think he was playing when I was in high school for the Packers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Chris Gilmore called in last week, and he said, what did he say was going to be the biggest key to that game? He said the Packers line versus the 49ers defense. I was watching that all game. They got walked all over. Like, it was nobody.
Hey, let's use your term. They got shit whipped by the Niners.
They did.
By the front. It was terrible, man. I mean, in Rodgers' defense, I thought he played bad, but he didn't have much time, man. He was running for his life, fumbled snaps. I mean, it was a comedy. The first half was a comedy of errors. Like, if you believe in – like, it looked like they were throwing the game. It looked like the bettors got to them, and they're like, just come out and lay an egg.
If you watch the fumble right there, the fumble he has, the missed snap, my God, that was almost as bad as Cam Newton in the Super Bowl when you talk about looking at a football too. I mean, he literally, you're the quarterback. I understand, like, you get back to you've already, like, when you're saying, like, you're getting back and you're finishing, you're a couple steps back, but you don't have the ball. You've got to make some kind of an attempt at it. And he pulls that whole like sit up and stare.
I won't use the word quit because I don't think, but he looked like he really just was not. It looked like he figured the game was over, and he was going through the motions. And it looked like let's be honest too. The Green Bay defense didn't show up. Mike Pettine's defense couldn't stop the run. It was brutal. They couldn't stop the run to the outside. They couldn't stop the run to the middle.
Definitely couldn't stop a jet sweep. My God.
Here's the thing, man. They weren't passing. So it's one-dimensional. It's one-dimensional. All you have to do is stop the run in some capacity, and they were getting gashed. And Mike Pettine's a great DC. I really like the guy. But I don't know what it was today. Credit to San Fran too. I don't want to make it like it was just all Green Bay's defense was terrible. They did, but their defense did not come out to play today. Mike Pettit didn't really seem to have and answer any sort of adjustments, even in the second half, even though the Niners kind of took their foot off the pedal a little bit and just were content running out the clock and running time off the clock. They still had some gash plays then as well, and Pettin and the Packers D didn't have an answer, and Rodgers looked like he kind of was resigned to a guy that was resigned to his fate, that his defense wasn't going to stop anyone anyway, and so even if they scored a touchdown, San Fran would answer with their own, and they were just treading waters. And it's funny.
He looked defeated before halftime. He did.
Yeah, and I wonder what was said. That's the kind of game that locker room at a halftime could be a finger pointing locker room. The offense is yelling at defense, fucking stop somebody, and the defense is yelling at the offense, put a drive together, get a first down, quit fumbling the ball. And it doesn't matter now, but I remember, when the game was going on, I said, man, I'd love to be in that locker room at halftime and see and just hear what things are transpiring.
Well, I wanted to see. I was like you. I watched the first half immensely, and then that's kind of when work got a little crazy, so I missed some of the second half, and I also just didn't have to pay attention because there wasn't a football game going on anymore. But you look at that first half, and they, like I said, Aaron Rodgers, he looked defeated before halftime. He really did, and there was a lot of blame to go around by a lot, both sides of the ball, like you said. But I was really curious to see how this team came back out at halftime, because I was really hoping they'd still cover and hit the under and hit both of my picks. And so I'm sitting here looking at the score as it gets closer to halftime, thinking how they can still do that. And it got to the point where if they caught up, it was going to hit the over. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this is absolutely absurd. And I don't know. This was a team that I thought walked into this game completely out of sheer luck, and they got absolutely slapped in the face for it. And they look completely unprepared for this game. They look completely outmatched, and it was a disgrace. If I'm a Packer fan, I take nothing from today to look forward for next year besides maybe Aaron Jones and maybe a new quarterback.
Yeah, I think they got exposed on a lot of fronts. That offensive line regressed. The defense, which was pleasant. The defense, which has been a pleasant surprise for them all year, now you're starting to look like
holes everywhere.
Yeah, so they got some problems. They got a young coach. He's going to get probably a couple years, but he's got his work. He's got a little work cut out for him. I think Rodgers' best days are behind him. I mean, that's pretty easy to say. And
I do wonder how this success this year is going to impact the fans' perception of him going forward. The Packers' new coach, not Aaron Rodgers, because you look at him getting all the way to the NFC Championship game your first year. Is that going to buy him a little bit of time, or is this going to be something where when you don't make the postseason next season, which I do not think they will, unless they have one of the bigger off seasons of any team in football, I do not see them making the postseason over a team like the Bears with a new quarterback, a lot of other teams. I don't know. When you look at this team, what do you think? When you look at their coaching, do you think it buys him some time when they don't make the playoffs, or
I think he's got 2 years. In other words, I agree like you. I think next year they're probably not going to get into postseason, and there's one. He's not going to get fired next year, but it's that next year after that if again he doesn't make the postseason or make a pretty good run, and I mean it. It makes you wonder with Aaron Rodgers, how long does he got there? You know what I mean? Yeah. When do they move off? I think like the Chargers are trying to move off of Rivers. When do the Packers say, I think Rodgers gets next year, obviously. I don't think there's going to be any crazy.
Do you think they take a quarterback in this draft? Let's say someone falls to them. Forget about the top. Forget about Tua, forget about Joe Burrow, forget about trading up to 1, forget about whoever they want to rank as third best quarterback today, since they change it every other day. Let's say a quarterback that they like falls to them. Do you think they're going to jump all over him in this draft? Do you think that's something, because obviously he had nothing to do with drafting Rodgers. I mean, hell, Rodgers was in the league when he was almost in diapers. So I mean, he's going to want his own guy. You know he's going to want someone easier to work with than Aaron Rodgers because, let's be honest, it's no secret how big of a douchebag and hard to work with he is.
Yeah.
Do you see them taking a quarterback in this draft? Do you see him putting a rush on getting his guy, kind of like what I think Tepper's going to do moving on from Cam this year?
So because of what you said about Rodgers being sort of a diva and difficult to work with, that's why I think they don't take a quarterback in this year's draft. So I think they're gonna not do that. Like you said, I think they're gonna have a kind of a rough year, maybe like a 6-10, maybe even potentially 5-11, where they're gonna have a higher pick in the following draft. And Rodgers' numbers are going to dictate, like, hey, we got to think about life after this guy. And I think they're going to pick. It's going to be not this year's draft, but the following year's draft that they're going to take a quarterback. And
it's interesting you say that because I didn't consider that, but you're probably right. I don't think Aaron Rodgers, and I think he's probably made it abundantly clear that he doesn't want to groom anyone. He's definitely not taking time out of his life after practice to groom anybody. Like he was helped by another selfish quarterback that became unselfish towards the end of his career. But I just don't. That's a good point. I don't see Aaron Rodgers doing that either. And I could see it in 2 years though.
Yeah, 2 years. If they do what you mentioned, which you never know, we're only playing armchair front office for the Packers. If they did that, though, hypothetically this year, drafted a quarterback, to me, it's a recipe for disaster. He's going to make comments. He's going to sulk. He's going to take cheap shots, underhanded stuff at LaFleur, which he's done before already. And they know what they got in him. They know his personality. That's why I think they don't do it this year. I'm sure they hope for the best, but they could internally they could see maybe a 5-11, 6-10, 7-9 season. Rodgers, hitting that wall where all aging quarterbacks do, where they can't make those throws and can't do the stuff they used to do. And I think it just sets up 2 years. They draft a quarterback, and then it's easier for them to say to Rodgers, "Listen, man, you've been in this league how long? You're falling off a little bit. We've got to think past you. If you want to work out a trade somewhere, and we'll move you if that's to keep you happy.
That'd be interesting.
We'll entertain that." And going back to Tennessee, here's a while. We're talking about Tannehill, and he'll probably be the quarterback for another year or two, but they too have to think who their next younger guy. What about Brady going there for a year or two?
Yeah, I could easily see. That's kind of what I was hinting at earlier, and you didn't mention his name, so I didn't bring it up either. But that's what I was kind of looking at. This offseason has the potential to have a ton of quarterbacks move teams. And when you look at Tennessee, if I'm a quarterback, like if I'm an aging quarterback like Tom Brady, what do you want? You want a strong run game. You got it. You want some type of wide receiving core, a lot better than New England had. He's got it. You obviously want a defense. They need to build it. And I think you still, like I said, I think you need a receiver or two, but you can get the pieces that they need in one offseason.
And where did Vrabel? Where did Vrabel come from? From New England.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put Tennessee. And listen, if Brady signs with Tennessee, it's very easy for Tennessee to say, "Hey, thanks, Ryan. We want you here. You're gonna back up potentially the greatest quarterback in the history of football. We want you to still be here. We're not getting rid of you, but we're signing Tom Brady. He's gonna come in here and try to get us past that one hurdle that you almost got us past. And we thank you for that. So I do too.
Scott, a lot of people think he might go to the Chargers, and that's an interesting choice. I don't know. For some reason, it feels like maybe it's because it's being talked about so much, but I almost think they're talking it out of happening. Like a lot of times, I think you can kind of talk these things into happening, like a Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight, for instance, where you can just talk it into existence. I also think you can talk it out of existence, and I think that's what they're doing with Tom to the Chargers here. I think if he goes, it's going to be to a team like a Tennessee that's got a very strong running game. He's always needed that regardless, and he's really going to need that now. It'd be interesting to see, John. That's an interesting call that I didn't really think too much about.
I think it's two teams, man. I really do. I think it's Chargers or Tennessee. I still keep the Chargers in the mix because I think they're looking to move on from Rivers. I don't know if you saw the news today. He's moving his family to Florida. So that's one of the first indications that it might be over in
it's over there. It's over there. Yeah. It was over there as soon as they announced that they were moving. As soon as that team said they were moving, he was done. Like I knew it. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I knew he was done there. Like as soon as that happened.
And I got to be honest, man, it looks more and more like Brady's not going to be in New England. Some of the stuff that's being said and coming out, and Brady was like the 14th or 15th highest paid quarterback. And what I'm reading now is he's very bitter about that. And he took those pay cuts to get other guys signed, and he felt like New England didn't use that money he was saving them to build him an offense. And now I think he's pissed off about it.
Well, he has a right to be, man. I look at the Patriots, and honestly, what they did at wide receiver this year was a complete, total fucking joke, and he should be pissed off. I would be pissed off too, because it almost looked like Bill Belichick said, I've got a good enough defense that I don't give a shit about my offense because I've got Tom Brady. So I will throw anyone back there that I want. Give me whatever name you want. I don't care how troubled they are. I don't care what their issues are. I don't care if it's a dumbass rapper who wants to beat women. Do whatever. Bring them on. And the revolving door that he had there at wide receiver would be ridiculously frustrating. I'd be pissed off too. And if I'm looking at it now, I mean, they do nothing to show that they want you around anymore. I mean, the fans do. Absolutely, the fans do. But the organization itself doesn't. And I don't know. I always looked at this and always thought, when these big dynasties end, a lot of times they can get a little bitter. I always expected this one to get pretty bad when it ended. And I think you might see it this offseason where you see a lot of the finger pointing, the anger, a lot of this stuff finally coming out that was suppressed for, I think, a very long time.
Yeah, I think Brady and Belichick don't have the relationship many people believe that they do. I've read stuff that Belichick will yell at Brady for like stupid things just to do it, and when you're winning, you can shrug that stuff off.
Yeah.
All right, we got another Super Bowl. He's a tyrant, but he's a great coach. We'll deal with it. When you're not winning, like they didn't, now that stuff really rears its ugly head. I think I could be wrong. I said this at the end of when they lost their playoff game to Tennessee. If they if they really wanted him there past this year, they would have had a deal done. So the fact that they've always had deals in place before the contract.
Yeah, you said it. You said it back. You said it a while back. You said they always have contracts done by now. You said that this was a problem, and you look at it now. Since you've said that, it's gotten nothing but worse every single week, and that's where I don't know. I think it's coming.
Yeah, and you know this as well as I do. When stuff starts getting chippy in the press and this side saying this, that's hard to mend those fans. It's hard.
It is.
It's hard when you're not really under contract already. If you're already under contract, you can go in the room and say, all right, listen, we gotta coexist here.
Yeah, you can throw weight around a lot more too. You have a lot more leverage. He has zero leverage. He has zero leverage.
They don't have to coexist. he technically, I think the contract actually runs out, Drew, on March 14th.
March 14th.
But you know how this works. When the season ends, if you don't have a new deal in place, that March 14th date is more for show than anything else.
The March 14th date is arbitrary to move on from a new offseason, to give all the teams ample time when it's over with to do this, that, and the other. Like, it's just dumb. It's arbitrary rules that are in place is the only thing that March 14th date becomes. I mean, it means absolutely nothing. I'm just a little interested at, hey, we got somebody contacting us. Looks like the Brady talk always gets people fired up. And hey, we got I see by his handle, it's Cat's joining us, Mr. Bill's Mafia. I knew the Brady talk would get some people's ears perked up. But what's going on, Chris?
No, not much. I can't wait for Brady to exit town and see how Billy Boy and Brady end up in this. See who is really the leader of this dynasty. I can't wait.
Do you think it ends? I mean, you're a Buffalo fan, obviously. So you see them a lot. I'm guessing you probably have a lot of their games when your games aren't on that you see, and you see a lot of the information in the news. I don't know what they're saying up there. I know local and area coverage can be a lot more in depth. Do you see Tom Brady leaving? Is that something that you see talked about up there? Is it something that you see talked about by people that you can actually respect and trust?
I honestly think if anybody leaves, it's Belichick. Honestly, I think Brady's loved in the dynasty. I don't foresee Kraft letting his golden boy just skate off in the wind like that and tarnishing his name. But I do agree. I don't remember your name, but I do agree with you on the fact that they get their contracts done early, and I do believe that he's bitter about getting paid the minimal and not getting the weapons that he got paid minimal to get. I mean, when you look, I mean, AB, you can say what you want about AB, but when he was there, that was going to be a good target.
That was going to be great.
He showed it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really doubt that move, but I mean, obviously he's a weirdo. He just took one too many hits or something. I don't know.
That's being nice.
Too many hits of something. You almost had it right, Cats. It's one too many hits of something, but that's another story.
Yeah, that's a whole nother.
Listen, he comes from my favorite team.
I could see Bill Belichick ending up somewhere like San Diego or somewhere like that, maybe, honestly. Everybody wants to think that Brady's going to go, to another franchise. I just don't see Brady skating off out of the Patriots. I think if that's the case, I think he retires. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, that you bring up a good point. I mean, if he does, that's kind of what I always thought. I could never picture him in another uniform. I never took any of this stuff seriously, the talk of him leaving, until, like John said, you look at the contracts. I thought for sure this offseason he would not get to here without being re-signed. But you look at how badly, I think, and it's not only this year. I look back the last couple of years, you could see that they just didn't put the focus into the offense that I thought they should. And he would you were right. He'd restructure that contract every single year, give them more money, team friendlier deal. Yes, they built their defense up, but they never gave him a sustainable offense. They always had a running back committee that they never put faith in somebody as a one.
Look, I mean, James White was a Super Bowl MVP.
He was.
And now where's he at? They use Michelle, and they use. I mean, even Burkhead's had some good games, but but you got the same thing going on in San Fran, and it's working. So I mean, I don't really think that's so much the issue. I think the issue is they banked a lot of their chips on N'Keal Harry, and he went down early.
Yep.
I think that was a huge hit on them, and then they also banked on Josh Gordon a little bit too. With Gronk coming back, nobody brings that up, but that was a big talk also. Where was the tight end production from them? I mean, you had a little bit from Dwayne Allen, but I mean,
let's be honest. Gronk comes back if he thought that was a team that could win the Super Bowl. 100%.
That's why
100%.
I've seen Gronk. I agree, Drew.
Well, a couple points, guys, too. Number one, signing Antonio Brown like they did, and they only used him a week before that thing went off the tracks there. To me, that shows how desperate they really were at the time, because Belichick would really not touch a guy like that based on what even happened leading up to him getting off the Raiders. And I know that he's not scared of anybody, but that he was getting certified psycho, and they still took a shot on him because I think they knew how bad their offense was. They needed a receiver. And
there were good receivers out there. There were good receivers out there that they never brought in for workouts, which is what was weird to me.
Yeah, that was very weird to me. There was some good wide receiver. I mean, John Brown. We ended up with John Brown cheap. Or Cole Beasley. I mean, I'm not just stroking the Bills.
Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders traded mid-year.
There was tons of options.
They made the deal for Sanu. He was okay, but I don't think he brought the production they thought they were getting when they made that trade. And
I don't think they got anything of what, and they gave up a pretty penny for him too. It wasn't like they got him cheap. I mean,
that just goes to show you, Sanu needs Julio Jones around him to take those,
to be productive.
To take those touches away. But Katz, before I let you go, man, who you got winning this Super Bowl? I know it's not one that you probably wanted to see, but who you got winning Super Bowl 54, man?
I think the Niners win a very boring Super Bowl. I think they run the ball down the throat, and the defense dominates, and it ends up being like 17-3. Quite honestly.
Wow.
Nice.
I think their defense can shut. From what I've seen of KC today, I mean, they're good. I'll give you that. They're good. But I honestly think that San Fran D's nothing that really anybody's going to beat this year. And here's the next thing, guys, I want to bring up. The Niners didn't do anything today to show anybody their offense and what they're capable of. They saved a lot. They ran the ball down their throats. They didn't show them any pass packages. They didn't show them nothing. So who's to say the Niners ain't going to come in here and throw the ball 40 times? When they're, I mean, I just think
they did. You're right, Kat. They didn't show none.
They showed one play. They showed one play.
The wide receiver.
They showed the fucking jet sweep. Jesus
the Packers could not. You could tell them, hey, we're gonna run it to the right. You ready? And
you ready? It's like I get off here with one last comment, then I'll let. But like Kyle Shanahan said at the end of the game, why didn't I get away from it? Because it was working.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't try to.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Why would you?
All right, guys.
Well, Cats, man, thanks for calling in, bud. Yep. Thanks for calling in, man.
Thanks,
have a good one.
Later.
One last thing too on the Patriots.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think there's some internal stuff going on, and I know Katz, mentioned about Kraft. That's his boy, and he's right. I think he is right. But what's weird is I've heard Kraft make a few comments that we want Tom here, but but that's my point. It's sort of like the base level.
Massage. That shit he has to say.
It wasn't a really
say that.
It wasn't a really overwhelming vote of confidence. It wasn't like he's not going anywhere. New England fans, Tom Brady's a Patriot for life. He wasn't going to that next level. So what I think, and this is only just playing armchair front office, what I think's going on is Kraft and Belichick internally are at odds about this. I think Belichick's like, he don't have the skill set, armchair front office.
There you go.
Thank you. I think what's going on is Belichick's telling Kraft, we don't need him. As great as he is, he's a Hall of Famer, but the sand is almost out of that hourglass. For us to go to the next level, we have to have a different guy there. With all due respect, he's a Hall of Famer, arguably the greatest quarterback, but we need to go in a different direction. I think Kraft is saying, can we have him another year, 2 years, and let him finish here? Yeah. And I think they're going back and forth. Belichick says, sure, you can do that, and you'll see what happened this year. Maybe we don't even get.
Well, I have a feeling one way or the other, it's probably going to be something we're going to be following all off season on this show. I think it's going to be one of the very, very many storylines that you have this off season, which I find incredibly interesting. There's a lot I think that's about to go down, and I think there's a lot that's about to go down with that Patriots dynasty. But John, before we wrap up today, this show obviously is all about the Super Bowl. and it's Super Bowl 54 down to Miami. We're down to one game left, and we'll talk a lot more about this on Thursday, but today, after watching both of these games, I know you've kind of hinted at it a little bit on the show, but we'll put it on record now. Who you got winning Super Bowl 54 and by how much?
All right. So the Niners, like I said, almost all year, their defense is legit. To me, the number one defense in the league. They can rush you up front. They come at you different angles. Their secondary is pretty solid on the back end. They don't have any major weak spots, if you will. But that Chiefs offense, man, it's scary good. It's one of the best. I don't want to say in the history, man, but when we look at those offenses that we always talk about, the Rams, the greatest show on turf with Falk, Bruce, and Holt, they're right there, man. With I know their running back is not scary. With William,
he's a lot better than people give him credit for. I think he is sneaky good. He pulled that little. I did like the little hurdle karate kick, the little Cobra Kai shit he pulled out today. I thought it was pretty awesome. He missed it, but you tried it. I give you props for at least attempting to karate kick someone in the face in an NFL game. It's fucking awesome. But I like him. I think he's a lot better than people think, and I think he can be an incredibly solid running back. I think they have a better – obviously, you want Shady to be healthy, which I think he probably will be by the time the Super Bowl runs around. It wasn't this just an illness this week, I think. But I would like to see him come back healthy. But so what's your final score? Who do you have winning this game, and what's your final score?
Cats went 17-3.
I know that was a crazy one. Wow. I like it. I tell you what, man,
that's 20. That means you could bet under 21 and win because that's 20. It's hard to pick against the Niners because of the way their defense is playing, but I also see that Chiefs offense, and I just say it's tough to stop. I'm gonna go Chiefs. And I can make the same point for them. But you can't. You got to pick somebody here. I can't wishy-washy. I'm going to go Chiefs 28-23.
Nice. I like that. I think that's definitely a possibility. Like I said, I've got it a little higher. I do look at them as a team like the Rams, that greatest show on turf. They remind me a lot of that team. And I think this is going to be a lot higher scoring game than people think, but I think it's going to hit that, like I've said, in the second half. I think it's going to be a lot like this Tennessee game was today. Even more so, I think you're probably going to see Kansas City go down early. I would not be surprised to see them go down early. I would not be surprised to see them get blitzed by the run early. And I could see this going into halftime being a 10-3, 7-3 game. But I think in the second half, as you've seen in so many Super Bowls, it's almost like the games turn into 6-quarter games. Like you don't know where the points come from when you look at the box score at halftime at the end of the game, but they come. I actually think this game gets a lot higher than people think. And I'm actually going to take the Chiefs in this. I thought they were amazing from the beginning of the season. They've done nothing to change my mind. I've got the Chiefs winning a higher scoring game at 35-31.
Yeah, it could be. I say, man, that I don't see that the points being put up in that fashion against the Niners. But then look at the Saints game. They played a 48-46 game, and that was only a few weeks ago or a month ago. Exactly. Wasn't that long ago. So, you get into these one-game scenarios, you never know. A turnover, someone goes down with an injury, and all bets are off, so to speak. So I just the Chiefs, the way they can score quickly, I think gives them the edge. I know the Niners D is legit, the best to me, the best in the league, which I've said. I'm not going to go off of that, but I think Mahomes is going to make a lot of plays. The Niners had Rodgers on the run, and let's be honest with you, he doesn't have the same feet he used to. His accuracy was terrible, I thought, today. Even on some of the passes he completed, that was the receiver actually making a great play on a throw action behind Aikman. You can say what you want about Troy Aikman. He played the position, and he tells it like it is. He said more than once that's a terrible throw by Aaron right there.
And they were. I was glad to see someone call that like it was, because sometimes those quarterbacks get that benefit of the doubt,
How about the two mistakes early in the game by the broadcasting crew? It was the 3rd down and 1, and they didn't make it, so it was 4th and 1. And Aikman said, "Hey, great stop on the 2nd down and 1." And then Joe Buck called Aaron Jones Austin Jones.
Well, Joe Buck's we all know how big of a disgrace Joe Buck is. I could start a podcast making fun of that fool all day. It's a good idea for one, actually. It's not a bad idea. So every episode you pick any Joe Buck game of all time can be your you've got a ton of content. But anyways, John, so before we wrap up today's show, I had one other question on the list that I had for you, and kind of go out of order a little bit here. So I talked earlier about how every year you see a ton of turnover in the NFL, especially with playoff teams. This year, we've said it repeatedly, you've got so much turnover at the quarterback position, a lot of skill players going elsewhere. When you look at the NFL right now, and you've got every team except for 2 pretty much shored up, and let's be honest, I don't think anyone expects a ton of turnover on these 2 teams next year. No matter what happens in the Super Bowl, I don't think you see a ton of turnover on the 49ers or the Chiefs. But what teams do you see that, let's say, didn't make the postseason that you think do make the postseason next year, or vice versa? What are some postseason teams besides the Packers that don't make the playoffs next year?
Yeah, I think the Packers are on both sides are the team I point to and say I don't think they sneak in next year like they did. I'm gonna be a homer here, man. I don't know, but man, I hope my freaking Steelers get in next year. But that AFC, man, is there's so many teams taking strides.
Stacked.
And so Roethlisberger's got to come back healthy. Not only does he got to come back healthy, he's got to be productive, or they could be in trouble again. And so I like I think the Bills stay on track. I think Josh Allen has shown each year he gets better. And I think
that's a team I'm high on. That's a team I think is going to be, if that Patriots, I'll go on and say it right now. If that Patriots dynasty, if they break up, if that team breaks up, even if Tom Brady returns, honestly, if they don't do a massive overhaul to that offense, the Bills win that division next year, hands down. Because I don't think the Patriots.
And I hope so, man.
I don't think it can be that good. But the Bills will win that division.
Like to see someone else for first time in 14 years or whatever.
It's going to happen.
And, Katz brought up about Belichick leaving. Maybe that internal struggle with him and Kraft over Brady, like he said, he didn't say that's why, but maybe Belichick says, you know what? You want Brady? I'm out. You win. You win, but I'm not going to coach with, it's the old Parcells. If I'm going to cook the soup, I want to pick the ingredients. So Belichick might say, Kraft, you get Brady, but you're going to have a new head coach. I'm out of here. McDaniels would probably be the new head coach there if that was to happen. Maybe Belichick goes to the booth or as an analyst for a year, and then he maybe comes back depending on the situation. So not to the Patriots, but to another team.
Right.
And if that, like you said, you hit it right on the head. If that happens, they're not making the playoffs, even with Brady. Without Belichick there, some strife. I don't see that being the same team. And I think they're one of those teams like the Packers that might fall out, that allows someone else new to get in. I think Buffalo's going to be one of those teams right now that's going to be right there. That AFC South is always an interesting division. I think the Titans now are probably the favorite, and you just have to see. I think the Texans could be another team that drops off.
Yeah,
You know?
the AFC is so stacked. I think you're going to see a ton of turnover, and I think a lot of it has to do with, where a shitload of these dominoes that are some big dominoes that are going to be falling this offseason. I think we definitely picked a good time to start the show because we're going to have a very fun offseason. It is not going to be without storyline, but before we get to that offseason, we're getting ahead of ourselves because we do have one game left. Super Bowl 54. And it is set. The Chiefs and 49ers, whole lot of red. Sorry for all you blue fans, or if colorblind, I guess it doesn't matter. Except for it might get confusing. I don't know what jerseys they're wearing. But till then, guys, we will see you on Thursday. So thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks, everybody, for calling in. And make sure to check out Thursday, which will give you our first round of betting, and then we'll hit up the very next week. We'll see if our opinions change anymore after media week. But, so till then, guys, for John and myself, y'all have a good one.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.